Hey guys, Ash here, Shadow Legends. Welcome to the video. Glad to have you all here with me today. Send some love, some positive vibes your way, especially if you need them out there today. This is going to be a fun video, guys. We're going to talk about some of the most insane ways to build champions here, almost in 2025 of Raid Shadow Legends. And man, we have come a long way when we talk about artifacts and the way that you can optimize and use champions in this game, haven't we? Any old school players out there remember the days where everything was as simple as lifesteal, speed, and accuracy sets, right? Pretty much.
Well, I'm grown up now, and it still makes no f***ing sense.
We have come a long way. I think it was the addition of maybe the Forge, which really started to innovate things with some of these early Forge sets, namely Perception, one of the most powerful sets still in the game today, as an upgrade, kind of a blend between speed and accuracy sets. And now we see a set like Feral being, in a way, a massive upgrade to Perception sets. Pinpoint, you could kind of say the same thing, but I don't want to get too far ahead of myself here. We got Doom Tower, all the Doom Tower sets, especially Lethal, Guardian, I'm a big fan of as well. Even the upgrade in Bloodthirst to lifesteal gear. And what else is Bolster? Then we got the passes, the Slayer, the Artifact Bolster. We had Righteous, again, very, very good. Defiant, so a lot of good sets. And then they did something crazy and they introduced Stoneskin and Protection. This allowed us not only to take advantage of a 9-piece variable set in the game, but also a 1-piece set. And then they extended those sets to accessories, and that opened up a floodgate of opportunities to take advantage of 2 4-piece sets, and so on and so on and so on. God knows where we'll be in another few years of the game. I mean, these champions probably have like 15 artifact slots or something like that, right? They need to keep milking the proverbial cow. Did that come out right?
Don't you dare! Them's mine!
Anyway, this is HellHades.com. They tier all the artifact sets in the game right now. I want to ask you guys if you agree or disagree, and then we'll kind of dive into the 9-piece sets specifically, and again, talk about which type of champions that I put them on. We'll also do a little bit of arena and a Hydra clan boss run as well. On the Hydra clan boss run, I think I can pull off a complete 9-piece set on every champion in the team. So stay tuned for that as well. All right, so they only give 4 artifact sets S+ tier, top tier in the game. And they give it to Stoneskin, Supersonic, they give it to Merciless and Feral, okay? All 9-piece sets. Now, personally, I think the biggest snub on the tier list here, and I love the guys at HellHades.com, right? But this is why these tier lists exist, so we can argue about them, right?
Yes!
I think the biggest snub is Perception all the way down in the 3rd tier. A tier, I should say, right? Protection to me is S+ as well. Like, I love Protection. I like Arena. I really love Hydra, and I love the 9-piece for Hydra as well, right? We'll talk about Protection quite a lot in the video. They give Pinpoint S tier. I think I would also give Pinpoint maybe S+. It's tough because these sets that are 9-piece that you can utilize accessories and just get 1 ring for 20 accuracy or 40 accuracy if you have a Feral set, that's an absolute game changer, right? So it's difficult to not put these 9 pieces exceptionally high on my list. I would also give Righteous personally S tier. It's hard to get, but I would give it S tier. I would put Relentless in S tier. I'm still a huge fan. You know, in the end game right now, a lot of players are building a lot of different champions. I was going to say support, but a lot of, like, Marichka's, one of the most popular builds right now is a Relentless set plus a Stoneskin set. Getting those extra turns is very valuable, even in PvE, or PvP, excuse me, traditionally more of PvE. I would also put Curse set in S tier. I think Curse set, it's a bit more niche, so I can understand why it's maybe A tier, but for Hydra on AoEs on the A1, Curse set is where it's at. I love running Curse sets. Sometimes I run double Curse sets. I would probably put Retaliation 1 down. I like Retaliation, but I wouldn't put it above like Protection and Relentless and Curse. Personally, and Stun, perhaps. Reflex. I love me some Reflex, but man, Merciless just absolutely I feel like Reflex may be an A tier, right? It's hard though, right? You're already seeing this exercise. I'm sure you guys are screaming at the screen right now, being like, dude, no, you're wrong and blah, blah, blah. Namely though, they do have a trash tier. Trash tier is gonna be Life, Offense, Daze, and Frenzy. That's the trash tier. So low that doesn't even have a letter grade, just a trash can. I love it. I agree with, I don't know, Life isn't like that bad for survivability, I guess, in the early game or something like that. But certainly no one's getting super excited about life gear in the game here at this point in time.
Unworthy of these runs, unworthy of your...
So I want to actually just run a team first really quickly. Why not? I was in platinum, but I fell out while I was blabbing to you guys about the artifact tier list. But this entire team is utilizing 9-piece sets, and actually, I take that back. I have my Arbiter just in triple speed still, right? But I actually have Feral, a 6-piece Feral on Madame Sarah. She's the perfect type of champion to run in a 6-piece Feral. 6-piece Feral is going to allow us to have a 50% chance of blocking Polymorph. Moreover, she does have a 2-turn block debuffs to start the round as well. So I didn't notice if any of these guys have Polymorph in here, but obviously it's exceptionally good, and I kind of lucked out by Cardiel not cleansing there as the first move. But either way, we can go in. We have a Pinpoint and a Stoneskin. That combo, the 4-piece Pinpoint, the 4-piece Stoneskin, is in. Plus, you can add Lightning Cage as well and kind of have triple protection as a mastery. Those are good on an Armans or an Odin or a Gurgo the Augur or a Gizmak, someone who's landing a lot of debuffs against your opponent, right? So let's go ahead and, well, I did a whole video on a 9-piece Merciless on Sun Wukong. This little fella, man, let's do Sun Wu versus Sun Wu. Boom. There we go, we got it back. Sun Wukong and a 9-piece Merciless is one of the most powerful builds inside the entire game. Again, I have a whole video on that build if you guys want to check out more on that. Let's go ahead and dive in. First, I want to start with the champions that I just showed you guys, and then we'll dive into some like real true 9-pieces, right? So Sun Wukong in the 9-piece Merciless. I think that Merciless is certainly on offense, it's the strongest set in the game, right? It's hard to pick and choose Stoneskin, Merciless, whatever, right? But Merciless 9-piece, I mean, we're getting what? The 25% attack, 35% ignore defense. That's insane, right? We have a 30% chance to decrease a random skill cooldown by 1 turn when dealing damage. That's like 40, reflex is 40%, but it happens regardless of dealing damage. But if you have a damage dealer on every ability like a Sun Wukong, it's you know, it's only a 10% difference. We have that on every turn. That's just, with the ignore defense and the 30% reduction and all the stats, you know, it's like, it's literally like you're getting a very close to reflex set plus a savage plus another 10% ignore defense in addition to that. Plus you get 10% speed. And then at 9-piece, a 15% of getting an extra turn. That's almost a relentless at 18%. So we're talking 9-piece in one artifact set. We get relentless, some of reflex, and a savage, even better than a savage. What? 9-piece Merciless is the most powerful way to build your attack-based nukers, damage dealers in the game, right? It's hard to get, but it is worth it. It is worth it. And Sun Wukong is one of my favorite little monkeys to put in it, right? Because again, Sun Wukong, with the extra turn, I mean, his A2 and his A3 are really hard hitting. His A1 is really hard hitting. And well, you guys know how good Sun Wukong is, right? So very, very good. One of my favorite builds in the game.
Double check your belt. The monkey probably stole your keys. Monkey.
All right, Madame Saris. I have her in a 7-piece Feral right now. 7-piece Feral. We will take a look at a full 9-piece Feral as well, right? Again, I already talked about why it's so powerful and why it's perfect for Madame Saris. She's doing, you know, debuffs everywhere, even on her passive. She's got fear. She's got fear on her A2. She's stealing buffs. She's removing buffs. She's placing a decreased attack, a decreased defense. She's like the queen of getting polymorphed. She fell out of the meta because of polymorph for a while, right? Set like Reflex is going to help, or Feral, excuse me, is going to help her out tremendously, right? And you don't need 7 pieces, but that 40 extra accuracy is insanely huge if you can get it, obviously. But we get block debuffs on the wearer, we get the polymorph chance, and we get so much accuracy. Now, a 9-piece Feral, let's go ahead and take a quick look here at good old Bad Alcazar, right? Good old Bad Alcazar. I'm going to steal those boots really quickly here. Bad Alcazar works very, very well in 9-piece protection because he has the continuous heals, 2 of them on a 3-turn cooldown as his only active skill. However, He works really well, especially with a decreased speed debuff. We'll see this, by the way. I'm going to run Bad Alcazar on a Hydra clan boss team, right? And he's going to be with like a Trunda. He has that passive where everybody deals more damage to enemies under poison, right? 20% more damage. But with a 9-piece Feral, if you have a decreased speed on the Hydra heads, you can start stacking up a lot of poisons, like 4 poisons, 6 poisons, right? Off that A2 ability, and you're gonna get so much extra damage. Now, again, you can say the same thing on him in a protection set as well. And the reason the protection is a little bit better on a champion like Bad Alcazar, I'm just limited by the amount of gear that I can actually complete a 9-piece protection on my account. But the reason that we prefer, and this is a good litmus test for the future for you guys, if you have a 9-piece Feral or a 9-piece protection, if a champion like Bad Alcazar has the same number of buffs as they do debuffs, in this case, 2 poisons and 2 continuous heals, and that's all he has in his entire kit, we want to go with the buffs. We'd rather have the buffs because they're generally easier to keep on your champions and extend, whereas, you know, you could have some resists or cross affinity, you know, matchups on the debuffs. So protection is a little bit more dependable, and it's easier to keep those buffs on for the extra 9-piece damage on protection because they'll be, you know, likely protected in the 9-piece protection. So hopefully that makes sense. But in today's video, we're going to go with Feral because it's still effective on Bad Alcazar. And like I said, I'm limited. I previously shared a video on, I'll just give you a couple of my favorites here. Gwendolyn, who I think I'm going to probably mention later on the video as well. 3 debuffs on a 3-turn cooldown. Hell yeah, that's 15% extra damage on that Feral set, the 9-piece. Also, one of my favorite champions, but a mythical, but on his second form, he's got decreased resistance, weaken, and enfeeble. Or it could simply be a champion like maybe a Venus, right? Venus is going to be very good in protection as well because she has decreased defense, weaken. She also has HP burn. She also has poison. So we can, you know, stack up those debuffs and get all that extra damage from the 9-piece Feral. It's hard to pull off right now, but as time goes by, as more sieges happen, you'll eventually get your hands on more Feral gear. Very hard to get. It's clan siege only set, but man, now we get allies deal 5% more damage for each debuff placed by the wearer. So with Bad Alcazar, you can get in a 9-piece Feral, you can get 20% extra damage off of the passive and an additional 20% extra damage off of the poisons, plus just the poison damage and everything else, right? Now, Bad Alcazar is interesting because, again, with the 2 continuous heals, he's very, very good in protection 9-piece because you get the buff damage anyway. He's very good in a curse set too. So there's 3 really popular ways to build endgame Bad Alcazars right now. Heck, he's even good in reflex gear because he only has 1 active ability, so you can reduce the cooldown of that A2 ability. So Bad Alcazar is back. He's actually on a lot of top damage dealing teams right now, and there's a lot of different ways you can build him. I like Cruelty because there's the AoE on the A1 as well. So Bad Alcazar, we will watch him in a 9-piece Feral just to check him out and see what he can do. So Feral, very, very good. We talked about Merciless on Sun Wukong, obviously, and how good a 9-piece set of that is.
Stop right there.
Let's take a quick look at that Odin build that I was telling you guys about, right? This is a Stoneskin and Pinpoint. We named a few champions that you might want to consider a build like this. It's just a lot of protection from them being CC'd and taken out of the battle with the Stoneskin. They can't get nuked and killed off the bat, and the Pinpoint as well grants the wearer intercept stack at the beginning of each round, blocks a single attempt at a crowd control. You guys know what intercept does, right, at this point in the game. So these are very, very good on these control champions, right? But obviously, as you guys know, Pinpoint is incredibly good. That's why I compelled you guys to farm the event dungeon till you're blue in the face or out of energy, either or. But even getting 1 or 2 pieces of Pinpoint on the accessories is huge. That's I mean, having a Pinpoint ring and a Pinpoint amulet on your champions, getting that 10% speed and a 20% accuracy is better than 1 perception set, or at least it's close to maybe the same, right? Because you get 5% extra speed, 20 less accuracy, right? But the 3-piece, you get all those stats. It's so good. Pinpoint is so good. This game is like, it's been power crept by all these freaking builds, right? We have Siphi the Lost Bride, right? Obviously on protection, it's one of my favorite sets out there. You guys already know that. I already argued the tier list on protection. Now, I have my Siphi in a 9-piece protection, but it's not just Siphi. Anybody who's dishing out a lot of buffs, I love in the 9-piece protection. Senna Amberheart, who's brand new to the account, she's so nasty in 9-piece protection. She's putting on 2 continuous heals and an increased speed, 3 buffs on a 3-turn cooldown, but it doesn't have to be Void Legendaries only. How about good old Mausoleum Mage? How do you spell Mausoleum again? Good old Mausoleum Mage. He has 3 buffs on 1 ability. The relics are really throwing me off here, right? With these tabs, I can't be the only one. But 3 buffs on 1 3-turn cooldown, right? Sign me up. That's 9-piece protection. 9-piece protection is the best set out the gate for Chimera Clan Boss. It is so insanely good. I actually had a few of the top players damage-wise so far early out the gate here send me their screenshots. They're running almost all of their champions in 9-piece protection. They're running like 3 or 4 champions sometimes in 9-piece protection because that extra damage is so powerful. Have I stressed it enough that 9-piece protection is really freaking good? Don't leave home without it. I actually have my Duchess. Sometimes I've been using Duchess in Hydra Clan Boss, but of course you can use her anywhere, right? You wanted to build her tanky, obviously, but man, that 9-piece protection is going to be, you get the 25% chance to place, actually, excuse me, 75% chance to place a protected buff. She's dishing out 3 buffs on her A2 ability, one of them being one of the strongest buffs in the game in Perfect Veil. And then allies deal 5% more damage for each buff placed by the wearer. When you're opening up in the arena, getting an extra 15% damage is so good, but even better is longer battles to put a buffer. I just try to take 2 buffs. As long as they have 2 buffs, Lady Mikage, I always run in a 9-piece protection. Siphi, Duchess.
Get into a room, Fred will do the strip search.
Is that the Georgia girl, Jim? I can't deal with this.
3 buffs, 15% extra damage, 3 essential buffs along the way. What more can you ask for, right? So 9-piece protection is one of my favorite sets in the game. Have I said that once, twice, or 100 times yet? Again, Mikage, I have my gear all muled around here, but if you look at my my presets, I might as well show you. Man, I really take advantage of your preset manager. You know, protection, right? I basically have on all my most used champions, I have their own presets. But then in my globals, just because of Centranos and everything else, man, I have so many. I have 34 of my 50. I bet some of you guys out there have 50. I bet some of you guys out there have none. Use your presets and try to take advantage of your time when you get those gear removals, right? From Centranos, try to make sure you take advantage and do all your clan boss runs, or at least 2 if you can in that time period. That way you can jockey your gear from one champion to the other. Or mule, jockey? You're gonna jockey the gear? Sure, I'll go with it. I'm jockeying gear. So protection, very good, very good. Let's talk about Supersonic, right? So I actually have Necmo Thar. Good old Necmo Thar in a 9-piece Supersonic. So what does Supersonic do, and why would we be using it a lot, and why is it S+ tier on HellHades.com? Well, we get some survivability and some speed off of the 3-piece, right? Then we have fills his champion's turn meter by 2% for each buff on each enemy. This is exceptionally good in the arena, in live or any arenas, right? Why is this good? Well, we can't always win speed races, and oftentimes we'll be going against maybe an Arbiter, right? Maybe a Siphi. Supersonic 4-piece is so strong against Siphi teams, and Siphis tend to be very fast, right? You might not have the best speed gear in the game. The fact is, only one person in the game has the best speed gear in the game, right? So the rest of us, we have to think of other ways to get around go first teams. We're not always going to win that battle. Fills his champion's turn meter by 2% for each buff on each enemy. Okay, who would be a good champion for a 4-piece Supersonic or a 5-piece Supersonic to get that extra speed? How about a Crixia? How about a Yameko? How about a Warlord? How about a buff remover in Odin, who we just had? A Gurgo the Augur? Why? What do these champions have in common? We want them to cut in line so they can go and put skills on cooldown or do whatever they want to do to basically give us the advantage in the match. We're inherently, if we have a go first team and we don't go first, we're at a big disadvantage in battle. So we need to think of a way to make up, you know, some of those what would be losses likely. So we can cut back in line. After Siffy goes and buffs everybody, now it's 2% buffs times 3 buffs on 4 champions. That's 24% turn meter fill. We cut back in line and we lock them out. We remove their buffs. We CC them. That's why Supersonic 4-piece is super strong in the arena. Decreased turn meter effects placed by enemies on this champion are 30% less effective. Pretty good. It's not as game-changing as some of the other abilities, but very good to have. We get more speed, and then at 9-piece, increase any turn meter effects cast by the wearer. Arbiter, Seeker, Nekmothar, right? Very good. It can be good in other areas in PvE, exceptionally good in the arena, but in PvE, my man Nekmothar has a 30% increased speed rate, 30% turn meter fill, and an extra turn to get back to it, right? So 30% turn meter fill, now we get a 30% boost to the turn meter fill, right? So we get a lot of extra speed. We get, you know, a little benefits at 4 and at 6, and then at 9 we get the extra oomph behind all of those turn meter fill effects, right? So Supersonic, very good. Those are some of the reasons why I absolutely like it. Let's talk about Slayer, guys. Slayer, who do I have? I have Krisk and Grazer in the Slayer. Eric's is a great Slayer champion, someone who has an AoE on every ability. Biggin is a good Slayer, 9-piece Slayer champion, right? Bellower is a great 9-piece Slayer champion. Krokmar, the Devourer, is a great 9-piece Slayer champion. There's a problem with Slayer, though, and that's the reason that I personally put Slayer actually probably lower than the artifact tier list. They have it at, they have it all the way at S tier. I'd probably go all the way down to A. Or B, all the way down from S to A. Wow, what a bold statement, Ash. The thing about Slayer is Slayer's very good, okay? But in the vast majority of cases, Merciless is going to be better even on Slayer champions. So Merciless is so good that sometimes, most of the times, it's overshadowing Slayer gear. Now there are exceptions like Eric soloing Spider better in Slayer, like Marius the Gallant. He is the quintessential 9-piece Slayer champion, right? With the 2 AoEs, you can get back to the enemy max HP in less than 2 turns because of an extra turn on the Galloping Thunder. He can dish out some insane damage. One of the best DPS in the entire game, specifically on Chimera Clan boss in a 9-piece Slayer. But most champions, again, you're still probably going to be better off in the Merciless with a few minor exceptions. Krisk is going to be dealing more damage in other builds, right? And that's the knock on Slayer. However, it's still really good. Crit rate, tons of crit, 15% crit rate. We get the 30% crit damage, 10% speed, fills his champion's turn meter by 5% for the first hit on each enemy from AoE attacks. Okay, nice. Ignores 30% of defense when using AoE skills. Fantastic. It's not 35% for Merciless, but 30% still very good. 30% chance to deal additional AoE damage based on the damage dealt by AoE skills at 9-piece. Problem here is it's nice additional damage, but it's not, again, you put it all together, it's not quite as powerful as Merciless. Let me know if you disagree with that in the comments below, but that's the knock on Slayer. It's very good, but there's another 9-piece that's easier to get because Slayer is a Forge Pass or whatever, so it's a pay-to-win set, whereas Merciless is actually easier to get and better, you know?
I don't think it's that important.
So that's the knock on Slayer, but we're going to run Grazer Iron Gut and a 9-piece Slayer in Hydra Clan Boss in today's video and see what damage we can get. I'm also going to run a Trunda Gilt Mallet in a 9-piece Merciless. We're going to have a chance to, well, we already know Merciless at this point. All right, we talked about Pinpoint, Merciless, Protection. Am I missing anything of the 9-pieces yet? Yes, I am. And it's obviously, arguably, one of the best sets in the game, or the best set in the game. Certainly one of the most used sets in the game, especially in PvP in the arena. You know it, I know it, It's Stoneskin. So why is Stoneskin so powerful? We know it gives you protection. Whether it's a 2-turn Stoneskin on UDK, actually, I just rebuilt my UDK because there was a Undead Horde only tower, defense tower, or whatever in Siege, and I went in there and I used Necrit the Great, Siphi, Rhodos, and UDK. And do you know what the defense was? The same exact team. Luckily, we won. You want your UDK to be as slow as humanly possible. That will give you a big advantage. And Stoneskin 6-piece is great on UDK and super, super slow. That way, he's just soaking up those hits and he has Stoneskin. And guys, also, the Stoneskin tank on your team, like UDK, make sure you pick up Selfless Defender. Decrease the damage an ally receives from the first hit in each round by 20%. This champion will receive that damage instead. They won't actually receive the damage because they're going to be protected by Stoneskin, right? So make sure you pick up Selfless Defender on them. Obviously, 6-piece Stoneskin, 2-turn Stoneskin is good on so many different types of champions, right? But we have this build that I told you about earlier. We have something like a Stoneskin Relentless. Why am I showing you this build right now? Because it's not about the Relentless. Sure, it's great, it's fun, it's unexpected when it happens for the opponent, and that's sometimes what you need, especially in like live arena, right? But Stoneskin is so beautiful, and the reason I'm showing you this build is because it parlays so well with other 4-piece sets. It changed the game when they added Stoneskin to the accessories. It allows us to do something a little bit unorthodox or something really cool, get really a big advantage of 2 4-piece sets from the Stoneskin and Relentless, and we get that protection before our first turn. Obviously, champions like Armons are great in Stoneskin, or they're great all-out speed. It gives you a lot of flexibility when building your champions. Normally, I run Stoneskin Pinpoint on Armons, but the gear is being muled around right now. But obviously, the most popular build right now for nukers in this game is Savage and Stoneskin. Savage and Stoneskin, or Lethal and Stoneskin, is probably the most popular PvP build. It gives your nuker protection and the ignore defense. It allows them to be slower than everybody else, to go second, right? Obviously, there's a chance it could be removed, the Stoneskin, so it's not a perfect solution, but it just protects your nukers, and it's how I build almost all of my nukers that I use in the arena. Savage in Stoneskin, Lethal in Stoneskin. Stoneskin is so good. Now, I don't see a lot of 9-piece Stoneskin. Why don't I see a lot of 9-piece Stoneskin? Because obviously all the variable sets that you can parlay with Stoneskin, all the normal 4-piece sets that we can parlay with Stoneskin, they're generally better than just getting more Stoneskin shield value. It's not like it extends to 3 turns or anything crazy like that. So more Stoneskin shield value, it's not very helpful, really, for a 9-piece. That's why you really don't see much 9-piece Stoneskin out there. I'm sure people try it, experiment with it, but usually having the Stoneskin go away, more often than not, is not the issue. It's not being broken through very often. It's usually being removed or expires. Stoneskin is one of the strongest sets in the game, but most of the time, a 6-piece is going to do you beautiful for 2-turn protection. A lot of the time, it's going to be a 4-piece, so you can combo it. All right, guys, so here is my Hydra Clan Boss all 9-piece team. We'll see how we do here. I have a 9-piece Slayer on Grazer Iron Gut. I'll show you his stats here really quickly. Right, there you go. We have a 9-piece Feral on Bad El Khazar, as you guys already know. We have a 9-piece Protection on Lydia the Death Siren. We have her nice and fast, but a little iffy on the accuracy. I'm not gonna lie there, Ash. You know, that's a problem with 9-pieces. You have to definitely make some stat sacrifices to get these 9-pieces on.
This is where we fight!
Obviously, you could try a Feral on a Lydia the Death Siren as well, but buffs are generally easier to have and extend. It's really important with protection that we're extending. We have a buff extender on the team, right? Very important. We have that in Grazer Iron Gut on this team. Having buffs extended when we're getting more damage from those buffs is great. Same thing with debuffs. Having a debuff extender, if you're going to run a 9-piece Feral, is mandatory. Thus, we would want somebody like a Lady Mikage, right, on the team. Now, we don't have that team because we don't have the gear, you know, to pull it off. Not too many 9-piece sets on every faction that I need them for, and likely you guys are in the same exact boat, but I'm talking about the ideal scenarios. We have Duchess in a 9-piece protection. We have Trunda, I already showed you, in the 9-piece Merciless. We have a fast Duchess, and we have Wallmaster in a 9-piece Merciless as well. All right, guys, so here we go. Let's see how this little engine that could does here on Hydra Clan Boss. So what are we missing on this team? Well, I would definitely not have Grazer in a 9-piece Slayer. I would absolutely have him in a curse set instead. We really need the Hex on this team, right? It's a big glaring weakness, so that would be the correct way. So I guess it goes to show you that having an all 9-piece team, sure, it's nice to highlight on videos like this, and I'm sure we'll do very nice damage, but we could be doing more with other more traditional 4-piece sets because we need Hex. Either that or we would need a Hex champion on this team, maybe like a Michinaki or somebody like that, right? Or Archer Queen, right? So we don't have that. So we're certainly missing that in a big way. Other downsides to this team, we have Duchess. All her buffs are on a 4-turn cooldown instead of a 3-turn cooldown. We really want that increased attack on Trunda, but we do have the buff extender, so hopefully we'll be okay on this squad. Other than that, we have a lot of the essentials. We're missing decreased speed on this team, so that's an issue. But just kind of trying to like point out the weaknesses and what I look for in a Hydra Clan Boss team here. We have block buffs, which Wallmaster has. We have the provoke, obviously, and we have a lot of damage. We have increased speed. We have increased attack for Trunda. We have the perfect veil on Duchess. So anyway, I'm just rambling here, guys. The team's, you know, starting out pretty well. I'll come back at you guys at the end of the battle, and we'll see how we did. All right, guys, I am super proud of this little team. I actually thought we would get a lot less damage, especially without the Hex. This is impressive. However, I should say, this is hard difficulty. I needed to do it for like Hydra, for my key, right? I had to. So it is hard difficulty. I would not expect this much damage, certainly against Nightmare difficulty, right? But 10 million damage on Duchess, 21 on Lydia, 451 million, no big deal on Trunda. They really fixed her. Man, great job, Plarium. Great job.
Actually, we need to talk about that.
Battle Khazar, not a ton of damage from those poisons, to be fair. Battle Khazar, another curse candidate instead of Feral. Protection, Curse, Feral would be my top 3 for Battle Khazar. Definitely needed him in Curse in this particular battle, but hey, Feral is still great. Extra damage that it's hard to parcel out, but obviously a lot of extra damage from Trunda, Wallmaster, and Grazer with 104 million, thanks to the 9-piece Feral from Battle Khazar, okay? Anyway, guys, hopefully you've enjoyed talking about some of the more, I don't know, insane end game-ish. I guess that's probably what I would define the mid game to the end game kind of bridge right now, is when you start getting access to these 9-piece sets and being able to utilize them to really exponentially increase your gains on your teams. Guys, that's going to do it for the video. Let me know what you think of these sets. Do you use any 9-piece sets? Let me know in the comments below. Much love, and as always, take care, guys.